Hello, everyone.
And my printing has already been.
Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it so much. This is the LLC showcase for this year's LLC. We're going to start doing this every year. I don't think they did this last year. They not. But from here on out, we're going to make it a tradition every year. So you are the first one. So congratulations for that. We'll have 16 readers, some fiction, some poetry, some short films, a mix of pretty much everything they've done over the years, or the 1 year. Up here is a little list in case you forget who you're going to be introducing next. So just give a little introduction for the next person, say who it is, and then they'll come up. You guys have about 4 minutes each. At 5 minutes, I'll give a raise in my hand just to let you know you're at the limit, and then at 6 minutes, I might kick you off the stage. But hopefully we don't have to go that far. So yeah, this will take about an hour, 90 minutes, we'll see.
Are you doing an Oscar playing a sauce with loud music?
I will hum you off, yeah.
Yeah! What are you gonna hum?
What's that?
What are you gonna hum? Like Ave Maria?
Yeah. Rickroll, yeah, that's good, that's good. No,
Take too long for gas to come for you.
Exactly, I love that. Maybe I'll put it up on the screen, Rick Gas, and you have to get up. Okay, I like that a lot, good idea. Yeah, I am really excited to hear what you guys have done. I have heard some of your guys' work before, but not all of it, so I'm really excited to hear from all of you who are reading. There's a couple things. We have, I think, 5 other LLC members from the past here. If you were in the Writers LLC last year, please stand up now.
I'm currently standing.
Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is the new generation of writers, even though you're 1 year apart. Sure. So, anyway, without further ado, I will get started. And our first writer is someone that I have worked a lot with and seen a lot from a class we have together. And Christian is very, very he puts everything into his writing, and we.
Those are my pronouns.
They put everything into their writing. We appreciate that. My apologies. So yes, without further ado, please welcome Christian to the stage.
It's being filmed, and this being the first thing read in this tradition, I should have chosen something different, but here we are. Basically, when I have not been fulfilling my degree requirements and chilling things out to lit magazines, I've been working on a novel. This is an excerpt from it. Essentially, to give you the basic premise, it is about a disabled sex worker who basically lives in a world in which disability can be cured via highly expensive surgeries, and they have gone through this procedure. It's called the spine, and basically they're in a not great relationship, and so they are having an affair. And this is essentially a snippet from an interaction with their lover. So, yeah. On the days when they called upon no one, Oliver put their ring away. It was not out of secrecy. No one was no fool, and Oliver had let the truth beautifully stampede out of them. Nolan just didn't want to look at it. It did not matter that the ring was not a symbol of love or unity. That it was a symbol at all, Oliver supposed, revolted Nolan. So Oliver put the ring away, even as it sometimes made their fingers numb. Better to give until you no longer expect to get anything. The two were sitting up in bed, their backs creating condensation along the headboard, and the windows were open. It was a warm day. Birds cried out for hydration that would not come. Oliver looked at Nolan. His broad and bare chest gleamed with sweat and flecks of the incoming sunshine. There were days when Nolan was beautiful. It was the kind of beauty that did not stir in Oliver a yearnful lust, but a desire to see him, to watch him move, his shoulder blades as his arms moved, his thighs as he walked, and all of it without the spine. Oliver had to look away from him. They did not want to think about their own body. But their thoughts came to it anyway. How they emitted an air of fuckability from their youth, their wiry frame, their slight curves. All of it would fade, but that fading was what made the men want Oliver. They had faded and wanted to hold something that hadn't yet. When men gazed at Oliver, it was to devour them, to taste them, to fuck them. No one had ever looked at Oliver and simply longed for the sight of them, and Oliver knew no one ever would. Not with their scars, the heft of the spine, the implicit knowledge that Oliver's existence had been bought. But even before, perhaps it was better to look at no one. And coming up to the stage is a dear friend of mine. She was voted the LLC Student of the Year, and she will soon be, as a sophomore, a assistant designer. Cool. Of Earthwords. Please welcome Ashlyn Zielinski.
I wrote this, I'm calling it a poem, but it's really a letter, and I wrote this at the very beginning of the year, shortly after coming to Iowa City and falling really deeply in love with Iowa City. But I've updated it pretty consistently throughout the year to match some of the different magical experiences I've had while here, and you'll notice so many of them are involving the LLC, because you are my people and you are so beautiful, all of you, and I absolutely had the best years. So this one is for you. It's called A Letter to Anyone Who Doesn't Believe in Magic. Dear unbeliever, let me tell you a story. From a vast, unending plain of cornfields and chicken farms, a glorious city erupts into the Iowa sky. A city brimming with magic. Its walls glow in the heat of 1,000 brilliant colors, and its streets are alive with the shuffling chickadees, its air glimmering with fairy dust and poetry. But the real magic of the city is in its people. The city is home to warlocks and witches and wanderers, prophets and poets, philosophers, sirens, shifters, sandmen, goblins, gremlins, gargoyles, mystics, and murderers, breakers, takers, troublemakers, and unextraordinaries who wandered in by accident and decided to stay. Do you see them? No. That's because of all their strange habits. The very strangest is their habit of looking just like ordinary people. But this might change your mind. Witness, tangled in the sidewalk outside of Casey's gas station, a boy, a girl, a dog, and a guitar, all four of them soaked in dirt, sweat, pain, and magic. Can you see it? Witness, four strangers in a new place singing about watermelon to more strangers in a new place for no other reason than for love and for magic. What about now? Witness, a graffiti love poem immortalized in the rainless space under a bridge. Magic. Grown women leaping into leaf piles like the beautiful people they are. Magic. The morning after an ice storm. The world is made of liquid diamonds. Magic. Walking through the tall grass and stumbling into a pocket dimension of dancers swaying in the breeze. Because actually, this is heaven. Magic. Letting the wind fill the sky with iridescent bubbles cascading over the tulip fields. Magic. Crawling inside of a lilac bush on a sunny day to write poetry. Magic. All of it. Send your wishes away with the winged dandelion seeds and listen to the wind chimes at night. Hug someone who really, really needs a hug and cry into your knees under a bridge and sing like you only have one breath left. Unbeliever, tell me that magic doesn't exist. With love, believer. So the next person I'm going to invite up is one of the sweetest people I've ever met in my life, and also the best roommate ever, Riley Shell.
This is just a little snippet from a personal project I've been working on, and I'm not fully done with it, and it's still a work in progress, but I wanted to share it with you. The rumors stem from one man, a trader of stories. He whispers of vanished nobles and towns charred into ruins, of letters sent in the dead of night and flames erupting in towns across the moor. The storyteller asks nothing for his wares, only that his audience listens. They flock to him, the old and the young, and sit reverently before him on dry rugs laid out across damp cobblestones. His words weave tapestries of the not-so-distant worlds where bravery and cowardice converge, and stories are the currency for those who have nothing. Every night he waits between alleys. The back wall flickers with orange and shadow cast by floating lanterns bobbing aimlessly through the air. Tonight, the storyteller says, we sail on the wings of birds, along the river to a trading town hunkered down beside the bank. The town is ablaze, and the nobles and their guard have all been slain, and enemy soldiers have taken everything. They are searching for someone, the rumors say, and they will imprison or kill anyone who stands in their way. But tonight, they miss something. 2 children left huddled amid the flames. The storyteller's hands dance through the air, and as he moves, the shadow along the alley walls begin to twist and jump. A shadow bird flits over the silhouette of mountains, fields, and streams. A child holds out her hand as if to catch the shadow bird and giggles when its corporal form lands in her outstretched palm. The shadow river twists and winds into a pool of water left over from the morning drizzle, and with a flick of the storyteller's hands, the shadow bird dives into the puddle. The children giggle and squeal as water splashes across their faces. The shadow bird lands atop a tree on the crest of a shadow hill. The storyteller raises a hand, and huddled against the curve of the river, shadow ruins rise before the bird, silhouetted by swirling clouds of smoke. The storyteller says, a line of soldiers waited below the shadow bird's tree. The town below was silent save for the crackle of flames and the occasional crash of falling rubble. A rock falls beside the storyteller, and a girl screams before the rock dissipates into shadow and begins to fill the alleyway, blocking out the stars from above. The children huddle close, nervous in the dim light. The storyteller's shadows fill the space around them, fully encompassing them and everyone within the alleyway into his tail and drawing them to a shaded figure who appears beneath the shadow. From behind, the man's silhouette blocks the carnage, leaving only a glimpse of red against his shoulders, trailing down his arms like twin streaks of crimson rain, staining his hands in blood. And it's very long, so I'm going to cut it off there. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, I'm sorry. Rasmussen?
Awesome. Probably shouldn't have drank a whole thing of Sprite before this. This is
move.
Sorry. This is an excerpt, an abridged excerpt from a thing I'm writing. I don't know what it is yet, but we'll see. It was the right time of the year for fog, Allison thought to herself as she looked out the window. She'd been repeating it in her head for the past few days, and eventually she had come to begrudgingly befriend that foreboding gray outside of her window. The color gray had become a constant in her life. Once the clouds came, it felt like they'd never left. Well, that and the TV static. At times when she was too engulfed in her work, her little sister would change the television to some unholy number, producing that choppy, pulsating noise that would let her know that her sister was hungry. She turned back to her canvas, breathing a sigh of relief upon realizing that she was almost complete. One more stroke of blue and her painting was finished. This particular shade of blue came to her in a dream, one of those sweaty dreams that upon waking up you can't decide if you wanted to see it again or not. It was quite a dark blue, navy perhaps, and she was in awe of how well it complemented her scene. She had created a snapshot of a pond at night, the blue being the darker shade of the water. Maybe she could add a ripple to the water? No, that would disrupt the stillness. Only the wind blowing against the trees should be allowed to disrupt the serenity of the scene. And yet, there was a knock at the door. They lived in a fairly reserved community by the mountains, and visitors were quite rare. As she turned to look outside at the fog, her heart caught this ominous feeling. It wasn't that same sense of foreboding that was always felt in foggy weather. No, it was something dark in her soul that was trying to push its way out. It was a strong feeling that almost got the better of her, but she put down her brush and made her way to the front door. In the living room, Jenna was eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich while watching one of those poorly animated cartoons on the television. Allison should have chastised her for eating such a messful food at the couch, but something in her compelled her to press onwards towards the door. "Who is it?" said Jenna with her mouth full of bread. She didn't seem too invested in the question, as her eyes were still fixated on the TV, itching to find out the next trick Yogi Bear was going to pull on Ranger Smith. "I don't know," Allison responded bluntly as she approached the door. With that, all of Jenna's interest in the scenario was expunged, and Allison was alone. She took a deep breath, but she wasn't sure why. She opened the door. "Hello, Miss Brett." The man was unlike anything she had seen before. He wore a grizzled beard, yet it was smooth and well kept. His hat was similar to a bowler's, very gentlemanly and approachable. He was portly but not fat, and donned a suit like a businessman or stockbroker beneath his coat. But in his glasses shined a blinding sheen, inhuman in nature, and it paralyzed Allison with fear. Was this a man or something else? He chuckled as he waited for a response. "Hello," she said with a clear tinge of discomfort. "You're Allison Brett, the artist?" "Yes." Upon this confirmation, he seemed to slither his way inside the house. His shoes hit the floor like he was in a bowling alley, as if they changed the very texture of the ground. As he put his coat up on the rack, he turned to her, and she would never forget his expression. It was blank, blanker than it was before, an absence of emotion, feeling, and empathy. Allison realized that, somehow, she had felt the arrival of this man before she even saw his face. "My employer is interested in you. I hope your work is up to his standards." And I have to write the rest. This next writer also has long hair, but it's much smoother than mine. Gabriel.
Firstly, thanks to all of you for this year, because seriously, I can't imagine having gone through this entire year without all of you. It's been spectacular. And I will be reading an excerpt from a novel that I am excruciatingly slowly working on. I was going to read something else, but I decided this is the thing that I want to share with you all. So we'll see when I stop. Tell me when I need to stop talking. Philip Ashburn, gunslinger extraordinaire, sat with his daughter Kira in a small compartment of a moving train. Their small cabin had a pair of benches on either end with a long table in between. He was currently lounging, his feet propped up on the other bench from below the table. Philip kept flicking out the chamber of his revolver, which he called Emberheart, and popping back in again. It was a habit he had gotten into after many years. Philip was a man of average height, but somehow managed to always loom when in a room. He carried himself with confidence, and contrary to popular belief, he had a pretty good sense of humor. He wore a dark brown jacket with a small badge pinned to it on the left side, and a black cowboy hat topped his head of faded white hair. He wore simple trousers suspended with a leather belt, which contained his primary holster, currently empty since Emberheart was in his hands. His boots were simple, sturdy leather. He turned his gaze from his gun to the window. The ground blazed past ahead of him, mesas blurring past too far for him to see. He'd grown pretty used to the train by now, even though it was a pretty recent development. Something about the volticite crystal made it of use in powering the behemoth of a locomotive, but Philip didn't know the exact science behind it. He wasn't some crystal right. At that thought, though, he turned back to Kira, sitting on the bench next to him, looking at a few sheets of paper in front of her. She actually was becoming a crystal right. Philip felt himself grow proud at the prospect. They were on their way back to their hometown of Phoenix Gulch. Kira had just finished an extended stay at the current heart of the Resonant Assembly, one of many crystal right guilds. Kira was training to become a crystal right. She was apprenticed to one of fair repute. Philip had bought from the man, or before, in fact. Kira was a young girl, though Philip supposed she was getting older now. She would be 19 in a few short months. She had long, flowing auburn hair and sparkling green eyes. Kira turned to Philip, smiling, pointing down at the sheets in front of her. They were a rough depiction of all the different crystal types and potential uses. It still surprised Philip to know that there were more applications of the crystals than just special gunpowder, although that wasn't too surprising, considering that was what most of Philip used them for anyways. He felt at his gun's chamber again, noting the special bullets loaded into the tube chambers. Kira poked Philip in the arm, drawing back his attention. "Isn't it amazing?" she said enthusiastically. "The ways that a crystal right can use the crystals are so complicated, but are remarkably consistent. Powder, gemstones, alloys, and to think that all you consider them useful for is shooting. Shame." She said the last part with a playful grin. I'm glad you're learning. Looks like old Orin is teaching you something after all. Philip, though he knew that Orin was knowledgeable about the crystals, had something of a grudge against the man. His personality irked him. I think that's probably good. Next up is someone who also I will get to know better next year through living in the same apartment complex, Maya Sackett.
So the next one, well, you'll explain it, but if you'd like to introduce your work and
Okay,
all that.
so I will not be reading. I will be showing my short film, which it's my final for my modes class. So I hope you enjoy it. Slight trigger warning, there might be flashing lights for a few seconds, but other than that, everything's fine.
Can I ask you a question? What was the writing process like for this?
It was based off of a creepypasta called The Lamb. If anyone But other than that, it's very writing redundant, I guess. It's more image than dialogue, which is kind of the opposite of what I usually like to do.
For sure. No, that's great. Okay. Let's get the lights, yeah.
Thank you.
The last man on earth sat alone in a room. There was a knock on the door. I entered. Hank? You okay?
Sure.
Why are you sitting here all alone?
God forbid, happens in a long time.
You've been in here for 3 days. The last man on earth sat alone in a room. There was a knock on the door. I entered.
What are you doing here?
Same as you, I guess. That lamp looks weird.
That's not over.
It's not over, sorry.
Jared, is this on? Jared.
Yeah, it's going, but it'll I'm so
It's okay.
Anyway, long did it take to film? Oh, there it goes.
That's my editing process right there.
Nice. Do you like editing? Not at all. That's true. Okay, now for the second half of Mia's short film.
Next, we have someone whose outfit is very pretty tonight. Her name is Ella Brennan.
Hi. So this is a story I wrote when I feel it's pretty established I'm a religious person. This was a story I wrote when I was like really mad, basically. So once I was heading out to the garden to get tomatoes when I saw the room you forbade me from entering. I thought you were already mad at me with how little you were speaking, so I didn't think you could get more mad. I saw Mimic again in the broken home. One eye, it was a black camera. I tilted my head and the camera tilted. It was connected to my body with weird, colorful tubing, red, purple, blue, green. I touched it on my own body and I felt that it was similar to how I would imagine what it would feel on Mimic. There was a hole in the rubber that exposed Mimic's insides. I saw the beating of their heart. I pressed it on my body with my fingers and it felt funny and I played slightly with my ribs. I laughed and tickled. I played with them more and more until I was laughing so hard I was sure I was going to wake you up. Then I got scared you would yell at me again, so I left the room. I went to your study later that week. I wanted to see the picture. I asked you about it, but you were too sleepy to get up, so I took the key from the drawer in your nightstand and went in. I unlocked it and entered. Creator, that room was so big. I ran in circles from how much space there was. I went to your desk and opened the drawers looking for the photo. I found these weird papers with Mimic's face on them with weird scribbles beside it. There were some designs of Mimic entirely bare with rubbery skin underneath with camera with the organic heart and ribs. I saw a bunch of cameras in the dress drawers, all broken. I also saw a photo on your desk with a little creature. I think it was a little girl. You told me about girls before, about their long hair and their eyelashes and their human skin. Now, although girls were called women, sorry. She had yellow hair and a really big smile and looked like you. She was wearing my dress. Beside the photo was a little jar with sand inside, and it had Abby carved into it. I sealed it back up tight so no one spill. It'll be okay. I don't know why you're going to give me sand in a jar, but I can't wait. Any gift from you would be welcome. Anything. The most recent thing I've learned is pain. I was getting your tomatoes from the garden when I saw a little creature. It had no arms and no legs, and I was immediately in love. I named him Slither. I walked over and grabbed him by his end with no face, and I held him up so I could examine him. He lunged forward and sunk his teeth into my arm, and it hurt terribly. I dropped him and he hurried off, and I couldn't help but start crying. It burned. I could feel weird stuff flowing into my bicep. I ran to the house and crawled up in bed beside you. I screamed, I yelled, I hate you, you didn't do anything. I slept in your bed that night. I hadn't slept with you since the night of thunder and lightning and when the sky cried. I knew how it felt. It felt like lightning and thunder was in my heart. I wondered if we were in the chest or whatever was beyond this. I poked you and asked if there was more than just the world, but you didn't say anything. It hurts so bad, Creator, even now. It hurts in my arm, but worse in my heart. I don't know why you're mad at me.
I'm really sorry. Whatever I did, I'll try and fix it, I promise. Please just forgive me. I'm writing this as another attempt to get you to talk to me. I hope that you'll be happy about this. I learned how to read and write from the moving pictures on the television, from the books that you have. I'm gonna write this down and then read it to you, so that way you'll remember how much you love me, and then when you talk to me again, you won't be angry anymore. Then you can take a bath. You smell funny. You haven't spoken to me in 42 days. I feel bad about it. You must be really angry at me. I've been bringing you lots of red meat and tomatoes. I'm leaving them beside your bed, but you haven't done anything with them. I even sat by your bed and I ate spinach. I apologize so many times, but you haven't said anything. I'm sorry. I don't know what I did. I loved you, Creator. I don't know why you don't love me anymore. Next up is someone who's really cool. He's also well-dressed, and I think that he's a good friend. And he's also awake right now, so I think that's pretty impressive.
Thanks for that amazing introduction. I'm gonna read something that I don't remember when I wrote it. I know I wrote it during a class for an exercise, but I don't remember at what point of the semester, nor for what class. According to all known laws of aviation, there is no way for a bee to fly. Kidding. War has raged on for years. As a child, I had always imagined it as an abstract reality, far from my own universe of late nights with friends, early mornings attending to the farm, and endless days of drifting through life. I'm reminded of this as I pull a sword away from the gouging wound in my opponent's side, and I wonder whether he too had once been ignorant to this abstract world of ash, blood, and mud. The wound on my left calf has been bleeding for a while now. A fallen soldier got a lucky hit in with a dagger. It slows me down, but I don't stop moving. I force myself to trudge through the charred field full of corpses, broken armor, and shattered blades. The seared flesh of the dead nearly makes me nauseous, and my vision threatens to give out so that I may return to the bliss of unconsciousness, but I push on forward. Why am I still moving? To where? Gods know where the encampment is, and the only landmark to guide me are broken siege engines. If I follow them, I'm sure I could find the front line and get back to the fight, like how a lamb would follow the fence posts that guided to the blade. I wish I could go back to my home, to arrive to my cottage and have my siblings fuss over me, bandaging my tired form while I assure them I'm fine. To bathe and have all the pain, numbness, and filth wash away. To wander into the village and once again see the carts carried by gentle oxen. To feel the warmth of the forge as I pass near it. To smell the petrichor rising from the muddied roads that had once been the bane of my existence oh so long ago. Even as my body is once again battered by the arrows of the unlucky few who remain wandering this ruined battlefield, my mind is lost in the memory of entering the tavern and immediately being greeted by the jeers and playful jabs of my friends as I muscle my way into the overcrowded table they've managed to secure amidst the overcrowded locale. The numb feeling that had been creeping from some dark crevice behind my sternum begins to fade, replaced by something akin to scalding water being poured into the base of my skull, rushing down my spine. I turn to face the sob that shot me. I can't make out their faces or ranks. They could be wild boars or stouts for all the difference it makes. I force my failing leg to propel me forward as I charge them. Their angry cries and defiant stances fade away under an onslaught of polished steel and blackened oak, replaced by cries of pain and flesh suddenly going limp. I won, I think. I'm alone again, and I can't stand anymore. I think I may be dying. I lay on the warm, dirtied soil of the battlefield and look at the dark sky. I can tell I'm surrounded by blood, but I have no way of knowing whether it's mine or not. I once again think back to the tavern, now multiple drinks in, struggling to stand still or speak coherently. I may have originally had some purpose to be there, probably some stupid game or to recover some tool that I'd lent out earlier in the day. But now the night had devolved into what it always did, the practiced art of staring at the smith's daughter without being too obvious about it. No matter how many times I'd seen it, no matter how many times I'd seen it for, there was no sunset, no landscape, art piece or jewel that had hung close to her. Even as my eyes see only a darkening sky and pillars of smoke ascending to the heavens, I can still see her off-brown, almost red-tint hair, long and straight going down her back. The kind, dark, chestnut-colored, mischievous eyes that always said, "You're amusing," despite being a colossal fool. The blinding smile that always seemed to
that always seemed so genuine and blinding. The barely noticeable freckles that adorned her cheeks. As I recall stumbling over to her table, I realized that in the present, I'm also dragging my way through the battlefield towards the search party that had come to survey the battle, calling out for their attention with pitiful short wails. Next up is someone who always is well dressed and has made plenty of good drawings to post in the group chat over the last few months. Nate Montemayor.
Okay, so this snippet that I'm sharing is part of a novel that I'm working on rewriting. The original one I wrote in junior year of high school. And I haven't done a lot of work on it, but this is a section that I'm very happy about. You don't really need a lot of context, but basically, like, they're tiny little, like, bottle people. Yeah. All right. As Zeleny continued to sew, Maura went through the other pages of the song, steadily learning it through repetition. When she felt sure that she could play every page, she turned back to the first page and went through the entire song without any stops, producing a wonderfully mystical sort of tune. It was a simple little melody, but Maura was amazed by how well it captured the feel of the enchanted forest it would be played in, even at this speed. It was clear that Citri had a clear vision of the scene in her mind, and she had delivered something that would match it perfectly. Zeleny paused her work and glanced up at Maura. "Is that the whole song?" she asked. "Yes, but it's supposed to be played a lot faster," Maura explained. "I thought so. Are you going to try speeding it up now?" Maura shook her head. "I think I'll just play it at this pace until I've got a better understanding of it," she said. "Oh, of course," Zeleny replied, nodding. "I'll let you get back to it." Maura turned back to her music and played the song again, then continued until she had made it through the song 5 times in total, only making a few minor mistakes along the way. Pleased by this, she stacked up the pages and set them aside, then started again. She carefully navigated through the song, pausing a few times to figure out which note came next. Though it took her longer than any of her previous attempts, she managed to make it all the way through the song without a single mistake. "That's enough practice for now, I think," she told Zeleny. "All right," Zeleny replied. "I've got just a little bit left to go on this first outfit. You can stay and watch if you like." "Okay," said Maura, gathering her things and taking a seat near Zeleny. She watched as Zeleny sewed on the last few stitches, removing pins as she went along. It seemed to be a simple process, possibly even something that Maura could do with a little practice, but Zeleny made it look like the best thing in the world. Her hands moved with speed and elegance as she worked, and she kept a smile the whole time, as if nothing could make her happier than putting her skills to use for the sake of her friends. After a few more moments, Zeleny finished her last stitch and tied the whole thing off, then picked the outfit up and flipped it inside out before returning it to the mannequin. "This one should be all good to go," she declared. "It looks just right," Maura exclaimed. "This will definitely help them blend in." "I certainly hope so, but if not, I can always try a new design," Zeleny smiled. "I think I'll take a short break for now. Do you know when Arancia and Horia need these done?" "I'm not sure, but they shouldn't need them anytime today. They're busy helping with Bruno with something." "Oh, really?" Maura nodded. Apparently there might be some kind of treasure hidden in the antiques room. Bruno wanted to see if they could find where it was hidden. "Fascinating. I'll be interested to hear what they find." "Me too," Maura replied. "Any ideas on what it might be?" Zeleny was silent for a few moments before giving her answer. "I think it'll be a wishing wand." "A wishing wand?" "To grant each of us a wish of our very own," Zeleny explained. "Wouldn't something like that be wonderful?" "Of course," said Maura. "I'm not exactly sure what I'd wish for, though. If I only got one chance at it, it'd have to be something really special." "Well, I know what I'd wish for," said Zeleny, grinning. "All the fabric I could ever need, and a closet that would never run out of space." "I can see how that would make you happy." Maura smiled, then turned towards the front of the room. "Do you think something like a wishing wand really exists?" "Probably not," replied Zeleny. "But until we find the treasure, it could be anything, right? So we might as well set our hopes high." "Oh, I see. What do you think the treasure could be, Maura?" "I don't know," said Maura. "But even if it's something small, I'm sure it'll be exciting anyway." "Definitely," said Zeleny. "Now, shall we find something else to do together?"